Hi everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I am just one reader and I am here today with my TBR for the month of May. Now, April was a pretty decent reading month, but I want May to be better. I actually feel like I want to compensate. And when I was making this TBR for May, I realized that I was probably overcompensating for my lack of reading in April. So I think I have compiled quite a pretty ambitious TBR for May, but I think it's a very good, varied, different, diverse selection of books. So hopefully I will get through most of these. I am not going to kid myself any longer into the delusion that I will actually read all of this in 1 month, but I will at least try. So the first book is the one that I am currently reading right now, A Prayer for Owen, Meany by John Irving. I am actually really liking it. It feels like watching a movie, like a biopic. So I'm really liking it. We'll see. I haven't really heard anyone on BookTube talking about this book, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good so far. Then I have some nonfiction, which is On Sondheim, an opinionated guide by Ethan Morton. This is about Stephen Sondheim and his work and his legacy. If you don't know who Stephen Sondheim is, shame. Stephen Sondheim is, in my opinion, the most important composer alive. He is not just a composer, but a composer slash lyricist. And he has created the soundtrack to my childhood and my teenage years and my life. And he has written amazing Broadway shows. He has written Into the Woods. He has written Sweeney Todd, which is probably his masterpiece. I mean, come on, Sweeney Todd. And the worst pies in London. Oh, sir, times is hard. Well, Sweeney Todd, he also wrote Sunday in the Park with George. He has written so many things. Company, Being Alive. So many shows, just so many shows. He was a lyricist for West Side Story and Gypsy, and this video would be so long if I just talked about Sondheim and his legacy. But yeah, I just cannot wait to read this book. Then I have a short story collection. I usually like to include at least one short story collection every month because that way I can read it throughout the month. I can read a story and you know, I can sort of intersperse these stories and read them alongside the other books in my monthly TBR. So I do like having a collection in my TBR every month. And this month, I will try to read Delicate Edible Birds by Lauren Groff. First of all, this cover. Second of all, this title, Delicate Edible Birds. If that is not beautiful, and just say that out loud and really pay attention to how the consonants tick inside your mouth and how the tongue clicks. Delicate Edible Birds. This is such an elegant title, and I love that because it is an example of Lauren Groff's beautiful writing and how gorgeous she writes. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And then I have 5 novels because I am a crazy ambitious son of a bitch, and I feel I have the delusion apparently that I could read these five novels on top of the ones that I've already mentioned. So first I have The Eyre Affair by Jasper Fforde. I know nothing about this except that it kind of it's a play on literature, on important works of literature that we know, such as Jane Eyre, Shakespeare, Bridget Jones, and many other works of literature, and it's kind of a play on that, and that it's hilarious. Then I have The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis. This was a BookTube darling back in its day, back when it was published, which must have been like, what, 3 years ago or something like that. I don't know. But I remember when it first came out, people were loving this. People, like, really big, heavy, important booktubers. I remember Jen Campbell really loved this and really recommended it. And people say that this is very dark and twisted and kind of a mind-fucking experience. So yeah, and it is kind of historical fiction, but with a grimy, grotesque twist. So I am here for this. Then I have Donna Tartt's The Little Friend, which I wanted to read last month, well, in April, but it was impossible because this is pretty long. I mean, it doesn't look very long, but it is over 600 pages, and it is Donna Tartt, so you really want to pay attention. Well, I want to pay attention to the language and the structure, and I really want to get lost in it, so yeah. And I have two more. The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. So Kate Morton became very popular and famous with this novel. This was her debut, and it put her on the spotlight, and she has become really famous and, you know, a best-selling author. And this is the one that started it all. Now, I have read Kate Morton before. I read The Forgotten Garden and loved it. And then I read The Distant Hours, and I gave it like 3 stars. I thought it was good, but it was not The Forgotten Garden. However, I have read and heard rave reviews about The House at Riverton. If you don't know Kate Morton, again, where have you been? You have been probably living under some cave where there is no Kate Morton and no Stephen Sondheim. Well, Kate Morton's shtick is it's kind of historical fiction, not historical fiction, but it kind of feels historical. She usually sets her characters and her stories in different periods of time, and we follow the same characters or over periods of time, or characters that are somehow interconnected with the other characters in other periods of time, if I'm making any sense. Anyone? And it kind of has a gothic Victorian feel, and it's usually about family and relationships, and they are really suspenseful and kind of thrilling in their own way. So I want to read the one that propelled her into fame. And finally, I have a novel that I am so glad that I finally own, The Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss, another booktube darling. This was everybody's favorite book a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, and also last year. People read and loved the shit out of this novel. Sarah Moss has become an author that people love on booktube, particularly the kind of booktubers that I follow and whose taste I really identify with, and you know, the ones that I always try to read what they read. They love The Tidal Zone, and they love Sarah Moss. And this book, if you live in Mexico like I do, this book is impossible to find. It is impossible. You cannot find it online. You cannot find it at any bookstore. You cannot find it on Amazon. I mean, I guess I probably could have gotten it from the Book Depository, but the Book Depository and I are not friends anymore. We have had a fight over the years, so I'm not using Book Depository anymore. But one of my best friends went to London last month, and she told me, would you like something? Would you like a book? And at first I was like, no, chill, go ahead, go and enjoy your trip. And then I was like, no, The Tidal Zone. So The Tidal Zone I got. And I also got... She also got me The Birds by Daphne du Maurier, which is another collection that I had been trying to find for years, and it is fucking possible to find in Mexico. So she got me this, but I will not be reading this in May because I already am reading the other collection by Lauren Groff, so I can only read one short story collection per month. So The Tidal Zone, really excited. So that is my stupidly, ridiculously ambitious TBR for May. Please let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? Am I really that crazy? I just realized that I sang out of the blue Stephen Sondheim's Legacy for you. I'm so sorry, but not really. Anyway, that's what happens when you have 6 cups of coffee in a row. Thanks for watching.